people in the room. Is it a good night to be in Perry, Iowa for Rick Perry? We're surrounded by all kinds of gubernatorial, former gubernatorial, future presidential talent. Who knows what's going on? So to start this ball rolling, to get to the point where I introduce a man I've known for a good long time, my friend, our next president, Rick Perry. Let's start with a gentleman. Let's start with a gentleman who down in Texas, first of all, hi, Mark Davis from WBAP, Dallas, Fort Worth, occasional Limbaugh fill-in. Hello, WHO Des Moines. Okay, I'm done. Now, down in Texas, this gentleman is a neighbor. This gentleman is a competitor. This gentleman is a friend to Texas, a friend to Rick Perry, a friend to America. Join me, give it up for Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You know, I've got the privilege of introducing you a great governors who come up here. Amanda I served with when I was in Congress. But before I do that, I want to give you just 5 simple reasons it is so important we send Rick Perry to the White House. I don't know about you, but this election, it is not about personalities. It's not about fancy speeches. This election is about the direction and the future of these great United States of America. We are blessed, and let me say this, we are blessed to live in the greatest country in the history of the world. And I don't know about y'all, but I have no trouble saying that unapologetically, but I also believe as parents, we have a special obligation as Americans. It is our obligation to leave more opportunities to our children than we inherited from our parents. Every generation has done that. The reason this election is so important, what's at stake here is what are the opportunities we leave behind? Do we leave the opportunity to pursue the American dream? Or do we continue on a path that mortgages our children's and grandchildren's future? 5 simple reasons why Rick Perry has got to be in the White House, why we must make sure that President Obama is a one-term president and leaves the White House next year. Reason number 1, the President of the White House today believes that we are going to tax and spend our way into prosperity. Rick Perry has cut taxes nearly 64 times, saving over $14 billion for Texan taxpayers. He understands what is never has been, never will be. There has never been a society, a state, or a country that has taxed its way into prosperity. It's pretty simple. You want to encourage an activity, don't tax it. You want to discourage an activity, tax it. This president seems to want to tax everything he can, especially the job creators in this country. Rick Perry is not only talking the talk with a lower flat tax, he has proven it by cutting taxes in the state of Texas. He will do the same thing for our entire country when we get Rick Perry to the White House. The second reason he's so important, Rick Perry's got a proven track record. Under President Obama's leadership, this country's lost nearly 2 million jobs. Under Rick Perry's leadership, the state of Texas has created during that same time period nearly 1 million jobs. 40% of the jobs in this country during that time period, over 40%, nearly half, created in the state of Texas. A lot of people are promising jobs. A lot of people are promising to create the environment for the private sector to grow. Rick Perry's not just talking about it, he's actually done it in the state of Texas. He'll put the private sector back to work by cutting back government spending, by shrinking the size of the federal government. The second reason we need to put Rick Perry in the White House, it's time to put America back to work. That's why we need Rick Perry in the White House. The third reason, Rick Perry understands the reasons to get, he understands the importance of cutting back all these excessive regulations. You've got an EPA that is costing us jobs, shipping those jobs overseas. Every day, nearly 10 new regulations coming out of Washington, D.C. SBA estimates that it costs $10,000 for every manufacturing job in America to comply with those regulations. He has proposed a moratorium on new regulations until there's a real cost-benefit analysis for a process in place. But more importantly, he's helped to lead the fight against Obamacare, against an EPA that is trying to send jobs overseas, and other federal regulations coming out of Washington, D.C. that are strangling our economy. For this reason, we need to send Rick Perry into the White House. Fourth, Rick Perry understands the need for us to produce more of our energy at home rather than sending billions of dollars overseas. He has embraced in all of the above strategy: clean coal, renewables, biofuels, more oil and gas production at home, nuclear power, conservation, solar, wind, all of it. We now have a president in the White House. Whether it was the moratorium in the Gulf, whether it's politically motivated decisions, whether it's his own energy secretary. His own energy secretary said we need to get the price of gasoline up to European levels here in America. Oh. They're clearly doing everything they can to accomplish that, and in the process, sending more of our jobs overseas and sending more of our dollars to other countries. Rick Perry has proposed a specific plan, producing more of our energy at home, creating more than 1 million jobs here. He's not going to need years to study to figure out whether we need to build a pipeline to keep Canadian energy coming to America instead of sending it to China. That's why we need Rick Perry in the White House. Fifth and finally, I have seen firsthand Rick Perry's leadership during times of crisis, whether it was Hurricanes Gustav and Ike or the oil spill. And make no mistake about it, we live in a great country facing great challenges. We don't have time for on-the-job training. Now more than ever, we need a president ready to lead from day one. We've got a president of the White House who's a great speaker, but who never ran anything other than his campaign, by the way, before we elected him as president of these United States of America. Rick Perry has got executive leadership. I saw it firsthand. I won't tell you all the stories. I will say during the oil spill. You contrast what the Obama administration did, drowning us in red tape and bureaucracy, when we were simply trying to defend our coast and our way of life. You contrast that with Rick Perry, who during Gustav, I called him up the night before the airspace was about to close in the city of New Orleans. Federal government was still struggling through red tape to get us their promised ambulances, and instead of waiting, I called up Rick Perry. The very first planes that arrived in Louisiana at the break of dawn on Sunday morning were sent by Rick Perry, by the Texas National Guard, the Air National Guard. Thanks to his help, we got those patients on their way. We ultimately got aircraft from the Northern Command all the way up to Canada, but the first planes came from Texas, and I'll tell you what, he didn't ask me, do you have FEMA approval? He didn't ask me to fax him some forms. He didn't ask me to sign anything. He knew lives were at stake. He took quick, decisive action because he has been a governor now for 11 years. And under his leadership, Texas has now grown to the second largest economy in this country. He won't need on-the-job training. I can tell you a lot more, but the bottom line is this. Tomorrow is a very important day, not only in Iowa, but for our country. It is time for us now to take all this excitement and energy and turn it into real work. It's time for us to get our neighbors, friends, family, everybody we know out and make sure that we help to elect Rick Perry as the next president of these United States of America. And it's actually my official responsibility up here to introduce another great American. Sam's with a great conservative, a consistent conservative voice in the United States Senate when it wasn't always easy to do that. He now has moved over to the State House in the great state of Kansas. He is helping to lead the fight to cut spending in Kansas. He has got aggressive, specific ideas to overhaul their health care programs, to create more jobs. And what I love about having these great conservative governors like Rick says, that's what the Founding Fathers intended, these laboratories of experimentation, these great competitors. Sam Brownback is already on his way to making Kansas the next great American success story. So remember to help to elect Rick Perry, and please give a great Iowa welcome to Governor Sam Brownback from the great state of Kansas.
I appreciate that.